Cox once said, life will only change when you become more committed to your dreams than you are to your comfort zone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Nerdy Optometrist, a podcast channel for all things optometry. This is your host, Ukti Bora. Today, we have an amazing guest, which I'm sure needs no introduction. Her lovely smile and a beautiful hair says it all. I'm really excited to welcome Dr. Kristie Nyugen, who is a board certified optometrist and currently serves as a contract doctor for Dr. David Feenstra and Associates in Orlando, Florida. After graduating in the top 10 of her high school class with honors, she went on to obtain her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Houston. Dr. Nguyen obtained a doctorate of optometry in 2005 from Nova Southeastern University College of Optometry, Florida. Dr. Kristie has been the executive board member of Optometry Divas for past 3 years and currently serves as the lead Orlando ambassador. She's also a brand ambassador for an independent eyewear brand called Kazuku Lunettes and director of business development for an online optical company called Optazo. She's the US ambassador for Imagine magazine and a board member of Cookie magazine, both of which are optical related. Recently, she also partnered with Zeiss. She's a member of American Optometric Association, the Florida Optometric Association, Young ODs of America, OD Divas, Optometry Divas, and Central Florida Optometric Society. If you feel she's had it all, yes, she did, because she's also married with two beautiful daughters. She enjoys beaches, traveling to new places, and reading. So I'm really excited to learn a lot more about your journey, and I would like to do a warm welcome and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Ukti, for having me on the show. I'm super delighted and I can't wait to share.
Awesome. So I'm going to directly dive into my questions because we're going to really target and know about comfort zone and how to come out of it. But before we go there, I know based on some of the other interviews that I've heard and did my research, you have an incredible journey. So can you tell me how did you bump into optometry? How did your career start and everything that you've done so far?
So it all started when I kind of went through what I wanted to do when I grew up, and that was in junior high. And I grew up very religious. I mean, we went to church literally almost every single day. And I remember sitting in church one day and the sermon just spoke to me. It was where God cured the blind. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what I should do. I can't do blood, so I can't do any surgery, but I can totally help somebody see clear that, the first pair of glasses, first pair of contact lenses, and just give them that sight of vision. And I knew from that point on that that's what I wanted to do. So that was my career path from then on. Entering high school, I already knew what classes I had to take to get there. I did some where I went and shadowed an optometrist locally to see if I liked that. In undergrad, I even went out to work for a local optometrist as a technician so that I could get hands-on experience, because I felt like I really need to get my feet kind of wet and figure out if this really is for me. And that literally just solidified what I wanted to do even more. So it just continued on to my journey. I got into optometry school, graduated, and I've been practicing for 16 years since I graduated.
That's wonderful. I have to say you had a lot of clarity at a very young age, and that really tells me about how you're able to achieve so much. I mean, the list goes on. I think I've just given a brief of it, but I know there's a lot going behind things that you do. Now, one thing which I really like, you graduated, you did your OD, but you work as a independent contractor as an OD, yes, which is not an usual path. People want a secure, paid job, but you decided to, break free, go out of your comfort zone day one. What was your thought behind it?
Well, it's because I met my husband during graduate school. He was in the DO program at the same time. Mm-hmm. And when we got out, we wanted to get married. And I was like, I want to get married, but we can't get married if he's doing residency, not making a lot of money. And so I decided not to do a residency and just to go start to working. Mm-hmm. At that time, I'm originally from Texas, so I had no connections in Florida. or Orlando for that matter. So I just started kind of putting my name out there, picking up a day here, a day there. And slowly, once you start doing that fill-in work, all the doctors want you because they have days they need to fill their books with. So the next thing I know, I was working 6 days a week and filling my days with at multiple offices. Literally every week was a different office. Every day was a different office. I remember at that time, we didn't have GPS on our phone. It was GPS on the little handheld. And so I literally have to punch these directions in or I would get lost going home or going there. So every day it was just a different adventure. And being in this environment, I was able to see all the different ways that optometry can be practiced, whether it be retail or private. And I kind of start, even considering, well, do I still want to open up my own practice? Because that's what I wanted when I was in school.
Right.
But once I got out, I was kind of hesitant because all the private doctors I worked for kept saying, Kristie, don't do it. Don't do it. There's so much headaches involved in running your own business. And I was like, well, I don't know if I want that either.
Right.
And just, having the flexibility to set your own schedule, working what days you want, working what hours you want, negotiating your exam or basically your day costs. It was just very liberating. And having a husband who works in the medical industry, when he wants the day off, he wants like the week off. So for me, being a contractor, I was able to just ask 1 or 2 days off per doctor and I got the entire week off. It would just go on vacation. Right. So that really worked really well for our family because my kids were young at the time and it just worked. So that we could just take like a week or 2 off and it would be fine with my boss because I had multiple bosses. They didn't miss me if I only asked like 1 or 2 days off. They were able to quickly find coverage. So that really made me think, well, would I ever want to have my own office and worry about finding work to fill my office if I go on vacation? It's not the freedom that we thought it would come with owning your own practice. So I was like, I kind of think I want to stick with contracting.
But that's amazing. And what you said, it totally makes sense. It's very different and unique for you to try it out. And as you rightly mentioned, right, it wasn't easy when you started. You actually had to struggle. You actually had to go to different offices. And it, as you said, as much freedom it gives you, you are still picking up odd shifts, odd days, and making it work around your schedule. So though you made it sound like super fun and easy, I don't think it was really that easy, when you actually started off. And when you talk about negotiation and picking your days, hours, and offices, what were your major constraints there? If you can give some tips for someone who wants to try that out.
Well, you have to kind of get your feet wet first. So you probably won't know what you're going to be looking for until you actually work at the office. Things that I would look for now that I'm what I call seasoned is when I go into an office, I ask, what are your hours of operation? Like, when is my first patient seen? When is my last patient seen? How are my patients scheduled? Is it every 15 minutes? Is it every 20 minutes? Is it every half an hour? Do I have a technician who's pre-testing my patients? And what are those pre-tests that will be done? Some offices don't offer you a tech. So that makes it kind of strange and where you have to do a lot more legwork, and then what other equipments do they have in their office? So, do they have a retinal imaging? Do they have a visual field? What other things do they have so they can offer better patient care? On top of that, then you kind of look to see how busy are they, even if they're seeing patients every 15 minutes, but if they're normally have a high no-show rate, then again, that it means you're probably going to be sitting there only seeing 10 or 15 patients a day. So you kind of want to ask in general, what is your average number of patients you see a day? Because again, that means how hard will you be working for that money? So once you look at all that, then you can kind of factor in, do I even get a lunch break? Some places give you half an hour, some give you an hour, some give you an hour and a half. So you kind of put all that into see how many hours are you physically working for that pay? And then is it worth it? Is there a bonus structure built in? Because what if you have that base pay, but then let's say it's for 15 patients, you're getting paid X amount of money. Well, after 15 patients, do I get a paid extra? That would motivate me to see extra. But if they say there's no bonus system, I'm like, 15 is a cutoff, no more patients after this time. So then, that's how you would negotiate. For people who are new though, coming out of school, they're just going to be taking patients, overworking. So you're going to be underpaid, but you won't know that until you start working though, and getting a feel for it. And you have to kind of go back and look at the books. You could just say, hey, can I see your books just for the last week, just to get an idea, or just the last 2 weeks? Sometimes that, you don't want to be cheated out of what you're earning either. And again, it comes with experience to see what your base rate is in that area, because what I get paid in Orlando may be different than what I get paid if I go to another state. So every state,
Absolutely.
the base is very different. And again, you get paid a little bit higher on the base because you're contracting and you're paying your own taxes. So you have to remember to put out 30% and not
Yes.
use that amount so you can pay back your taxes. Otherwise, at the end of the year, that could come out pretty heavy.
Absolutely. But I think all what you said, it comes down to like, do your research. I think that's like one liner that I would like to do, like do your research. And initially you don't want to be a chooser till you're not understanding what your strengths are. Once you know that, do your research and then get in with confidence. So I think I really like it. And I feel students out there, like, fresh graduates who want to experiment and try this is definitely something which I would recommend if you're looking for flexibility. So
And
thank you so much.
it's actually very popular because there's so many people who own their own office and they do need to take that time off and they're looking for fill-in work. They don't need it
Yes.
for the entire year, but they just may need a couple of days throughout the year, or just to lighten their schedule, maybe one day a week. So there's many different options out there, but a lot of people don't know about this option, which I'm kind of shocked. And like I said, I'm trying to be an advocate for that arena as well, because a lot of my colleagues don't publicly share about being a contractor because they're all like, oh, I want to have my own office. So I
Right.
want to be the advocate for that part of optometry because not a lot of people will share about it.
Right. And another thing I want to mention, like specifically, as you mentioned earlier, that you are a mom, right? Like when you're raising kids, you want flexibility, you want to work a few days, you want to have your own schedule. So if you are like a new mom or you're expecting and if you want to spend more time with family, this is definitely another option which, people should consider and look forward to. So
Because
yeah,
when somebody asks you if you can work Saturday, all you have to say is that day is not available, even
right.
though you're staying home. It doesn't matter because according to your schedule, you're not available.
I like that. I really, really like that. Like, how you need to be smart and, just present yourself that you're really busy, in demand, and make sure, you get your things done. Perfect.
Right.
I love that. Another thing which I actually heard and researched about you is, which is really difficult for me to digest, but I'll take your word that you mentioned you were shy. You are an introvert, which
Yes, I am.
doesn't reflect anywhere, especially with like, the way your posts are, the followers, like things you were out there. So how were you able to kind of break that shyness or come out of your comfort zone?
Well, I am shy, and that's why optometry is really good for me because it's just usually a one-on-one
Mhm.
exposure with the patient, or even one-on-two if they have a family member in the room, but usually not more than three. Usually more than that, I'm like, you guys can stay out in the waiting room. But with COVID, it's only like one other person could come in, unless it's like another infant. So it's really good because on one-on-one, I'm fine because I know that I only have a couple minutes with that patient. And I have to break down that barrier of the unfamiliarity and get them to open up to me so I can figure out what they are coming in for so I can help address that issue. Because if they come in with an issue and I can't figure out what it is, because sometimes they don't even know how to express it, if I can't get that information out of them within that couple minutes I'm with them, then I'm not doing my job as an optometrist, as their optometrist, because I'm not helping them resolve their issue with their eyes. Because sometimes you kind of have to dig for it and figure out, okay, you came in, you told me there's no problems from your last exam. And now all of a sudden you say, oh yeah, I did have some headaches and some dry eyes and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. So I have to break that barrier really, really quick. And I bring that same mindset when I do my social media posting. I just pretend I'm talking to my patient and educating them about eyes, about whatever it is I'm sharing. So that way I'm not as nervous. But the moment I do just Kristie, I'm like a mess, a hot mess. But if I put on my Dr. Kristie shoes and it's all of a sudden, it's like, fine, now we're professional. Now I can talk to you. And it's simple, it just comes out very simple. So you just have to find that comfort zone, whatever it is that you're comfortable, and have that mindset when you're presenting yourself on social media. And now it becomes this safe zone for you because it's something
Right.
you're familiar with. It's no longer unfamiliar. But like I said, if I approach it as just Kristie, now that would be unfamiliar territory.
But I really like how you said, like, finding your comfort zone in, like, whatever you're trying to do, something new or experimenting. Because yes, when it comes to optometry, you're wearing your doctor coat, the thing, you have studied, you have been practicing in and out. When it comes to eye care, you exactly know, you speak to the patients. But when it comes to something personal, I'm sure, like, everyone has they would like to go back to their shell. So I think this is a great tip, at least even for me, because sometimes I do hesitate going on social media, thinking like, how are people judging me? Are people thinking about me? Like, how are they perceiving me? Because then I don't think myself as like a doctor trying to say something or an optometrist. I think it's, oh, are they, judging me as Ukti, which is probably not the case. You'll be more comfortable in, your comfort zone. So I really like how you said, like, make your own comfort zone in the discomfort that you are in. So
Because a lot of these people don't even know you. So this is your opportunity to basically even reinvent yourself and just be the person you want to be, to portray. And it's your opportunity again. If you think about it as not as just educating people, like I said, that passion, whatever it is, it just comes naturally and people can sense that. So don't try to be somebody different, but just bring what you have already in out, and it just comes more natural that way.
right. And talking about, it's being organic, being natural, especially with social media. I don't know if you do, but I myself also struggle in like putting out content, like, how to create what works, what doesn't work. What's your thought process there?
So it's definitely trial and error for everyone who does this.
Okay.
You also want to watch and follow people who does the same thing that you do and see what's working for them. So that's a shortcut way. You find somebody, a couple of different people who does something similar, and you just kind of look at how they're presenting the material. So there's a lot of different classes out there. There's different books that talks about it, but all in all, it just basically, everyone's selling. So no matter how
Right.
you put it out there, everybody's selling, but no one wants to say I'm selling. So instead of saying I'm selling to you, you can say I'm sharing with you. I'm
Right.
giving you value. I'm bringing something that may help you in your life. So if you come out as just sharing something that could benefit somebody else, they will in turn say, well, this person's really knowledgeable about this, whether they know it or not. Most of the common people is not going to know. They're not
Right.
going to know. Your colleagues may know, but most people won't know. But if you continue to do it, you're sharing while other people aren't. So you're doing something different. You're taking the next step and bringing and upping the game and saying, hey, look, I have a voice. I want to share it. And you can listen or you don't have to listen. But I'm also going to put a me spin on it. So everything I
Right.
put out there, yes, I'm watching what other people are doing, but sometimes it's not my style.
Right.
So then it's basically you have to determine what your style is. And you got to put that little bit of your style into it so that each post that you put out is intentional. You never want to put out something unintentional because you're wasting your time and somebody else's time. And they're saying, well, you know what, that doesn't really fit with her
Personality.
her whole idea or whatever she's trying to present. So why is she even bothered with that one post? It just throws them off. And if people look at you and follow you and you throw them off, they may unfollow you because they're like, well, she's not staying true to her brand. So that again, you're branding yourself, not the company. So a lot of people, when they're trying to brand the company, it's a little bit harder. I feel like this day and age, you're branding yourself first and then everything else follows. So you have to make yourself likable.
I think
So if you're not likable, then that makes it a little bit harder.
right, absolutely. And I really love one word that you said, like have a me spin into whatever you're trying to do, because that's where like some people just struggle with content or building something new, and some people just copy paste, which doesn't work. So whatever
That's
you're trying to do, just have your me spin. I think I love that word.
That's why if you follow my post, you always find food in there.
And wonderful hair. Like I have to talk about this. You have amazing skin and amazing hair. And I did research, and you do your own hair color and like hairstyling.
Yes.
So I'm going to talk about both this thing, about your skincare business as well as your hair routine. Pick whatever you want to talk about first.
So we can talk about the hair first. So basically, how it happened was after having my second child, going out to get a haircut literally took at least an hour of just the haircut itself, not even the time to go. And that was me lugging a toddler and a little baby with me, scheduling the time when my husband is not home because he doesn't like it when he's home. He has to watch the kids. So don't understand that. But still, I was scheduled on the day that I'm off and he's working, and I'm lugging two little kids with me, go make this appointment to get my haircut. And it's so thick. It doesn't look thick, but it's really thick. And somebody has to spend at least an hour just layering it just right for it to fall right. However, every time I get home, it never stays the way that they styled it. So I always end up having to fix it when I get home. And I'm like, I'm spending like at least $60 on this haircut, not even including tip, and an hour, and I still have to go home and fix it. So I was like, how hard can it be to cut your hair? Really, how hard can it be? So I don't know, hairstylist is going to hate me. But I went into YouTube and started researching how to self-cut my hair. So I watch a whole bunch of videos on short hairs, and I say, okay, which is the simplest style or which is the simplest method I can use to cut my hair without being able to see it from the back, because I can't see what I do in the back. It's all by feel. So that's how it started. And as I continue to cut, because I spike my hair in the back, which if I turn, you can see, I just turned it more than normal. So it's spiked. So even if I messed up, nobody can tell because it's spiked out anyway, right? So that's how I've been able to get away with this hairstyle, because nobody can really tell. The only thing I have to use the mirror is the front, because that's what people see most of the time. So that's how I've played it off. And over the years, again, I got a little bit older. So then I was like, oh, I think I'm starting to see a couple of grays in there. So to camouflage those, I started coloring my hair, and then it became like a thing. People start recognizing me off of social media because of my hair color. So I say, maybe this is a thing, because I really don't have the nerve to come and approach a stranger to talk to them. So if they come up and give me a compliment, it's easier for me to say, thank you. I like this about you too. So there goes an instant conversation. So that's something else I teach people about branding. It's like, you can always bring people to you by bringing something onto your wardrobe that would draw attention.
I love that, bringing, and I have to say this. So this is a very small thing which I experience. Of course, I don't have fun hair like yours. I look very ordinary Indian, but I did have few eyeglasses, I have a chain, a clip, ring. I always go out and collect something in eyewear. And I wore it in an Indian conference where people didn't really, used to dress up that way. I know in US people do that, but when I wore that in India, I love that ring, I love that dress, I love that pin that you have on your shirt. So that definitely did start a conversation, and I think that's a great tip, dress up in a way where people come to you. Yeah, so
if you're shy, if you're not shy, then it doesn't matter. You could just go up and start a conversation. But see, I'm usually the person, if I walk into a room and I don't know anybody, I kind of start edging towards the side of the room in a corner by the food dish.
But now with your hair color and with so much that you do, I don't think so you can ever sit in the corner. Everybody would want to talk to you and come out and know more about you. So, and let's talk about your skincare business, which is I mean, from eye care, which is again you are working, and now you have a skincare business that you take care of.
Yes. So that all started because I was getting a little burnt out with optometry. Believe it or not, it was once you hit your goal. So I'm very goal oriented. So the last thing on my goal sheet was having 2 kids. So once the second kid was done, I was like, what am I going to do? I already got my dream job. I'm married. I have 2 beautiful girls. What do I do after this? And I didn't even realize my fire started burning out until my husband's like, wow, you're just not the same. Where's your fire? I was like, I don't know where that fire went, because I'm dead tired by the end of the day. I don't have time for myself. I go home, I go to work, I come home, I'm being a mom, I'm being a wife, and there's really no time for me. I'm up for an hour to 2 hours at night just to try to find time for myself if I have the energy to stay up. But I didn't have it very often. And on top of that, my skin was going down the drain too. So the two just kind of went together. I joined just because I heard these skincare work really well. And I was trying a whole bunch of stuff and nothing was working. And they actually had the business part to it. So I jumped in, not really having tried their skincare at all and not really knowing much about the company. And it was like a blessing in disguise. That company completely just changed my mindset on being out of my comfort zone. And that's where I learned all my branding from, is learning from the leaders within the company and what the materials they put out. I just kind of absorb it like a sponge and just say, oh my gosh, all these amazing leaders, they're showing us how they work the business, what helped them overcome their shyness, overcome their awkwardness of posting on social media. And, by the end of the day, I'm like, that's so right. Who cares if I'm out there saying, hey, would you like to join my skincare business because you can make some extra money and look good at the same time, versus somebody saying, oh, why are you doing that, Kristie? You're a doctor. I'm like, well, you're a doctor, or you're still working. I'm still working. So I'm trying to find a shorter way to not work so long. So let me do my thing. So, it's just for me, it's another income, and having the great skin helps definitely boost my own confidence and be able to
Absolutely.
share with it. But the information that they share in terms of business, which was not taught when you're in school,
Mm-hmm.
is it's like tremendous. I mean, I didn't even realize how much it was all compiling until, like I said, like in 2020, when COVID hit, right before COVID hit, I had a whole bunch of collaboration reaching out to me because they started seeing my branding on social media. So that was probably like 2.5 years in for me branding, or 3 years, I can't remember. But then people started to notice, and they started saying, hey, let's come onto my podcast, come onto my show. Let's try my product. Tell me how it is. We'll send you this for free, that for free. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then as soon as COVID hit, it went even higher because nobody could go anywhere. And I
Right.
was on social media. So they're like, well, Kristie, that's perfect. You're already on social media. Why don't you help us do this for our business? I'm like, sure. So it all just kind of pans out, and it played out really well. And that's why I'm so passionate about just sharing with people. So if anybody asks me, I'm like, okay, this is what I did. This is what I've learned. In a nutshell, if you start something like this for yourself, everyone's going to have their own platform that they're more comfortable with sharing. So you have to pick and choose which one you're comfortable. You can't do it all. There's just too many out there. You
Right.
can't be the queen or the king of like all the social media. It's just not possible. You don't have enough time in a day to do that. Just pick one that seems to work the best for you, and then just go on to that and just explode.
Got it.
So I mean, that's how I would approach it, and that's what I learned, and I think it worked really well. But yeah, it's different. It's different, but in a good way. It gave me a new purpose and a new approach on optometry, and I couldn't have been in any of these other optometry things that you have mentioned if it wasn't for me starting the skincare business. Because I was a private person. I'm an introvert. Remember, I did not even go on social media. So for me to be from this nobody and like who lives at home to like out there in the world, it's just so different. But it's a good different. I do have that newfound refocus. I call it now refocus, because I'm able to share what I know versus before I couldn't care less because there was no reason for me to do it.
Right.
No, I'm not trying to be selfish, but it's selfish, but not selfish at the same time for me to share, because I know other people can benefit from what I've learned. And I'm definitely out there just to help other people. And like I said, if they decide, hey, I love Kristie's vibe and I want to try this skincare business just to see if I can learn all that wonderful stuff she's learned, I'm like, come on in, let me go ahead and show you. So that is there. But like I said, I can't hold your hand forever.
Right.
I'll walk you in, but after a while, I'm gonna have to say, let go. You have to do some of this yourself. I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of people, is they expect when they do any type of new business that it's just going to fall into place. And they
Right.
have to understand it still takes work. It still takes commitment. It still takes some sacrificing of your time, but it all pans out. Because after like a year into the skincare business, I literally went from like my 5-day work week to 4. I was able to take my first international or Asia trip for like 2 weeks. And then the second year I was able to do the same. So I ended up with more time on my hand. And I was like, wow, I'm not so used to all this free time, and what am I going to do with it? So we just ended up traveling more, which is perfect, fine with me. And then being able to spend more time with my family, which again, that's what I wanted.
Right.
So like I said, you just have to decide, what do you want to do right now? How hard do you want to work so that you can kind of play later?
I think that's wonderful. And the all that you said, I think sums up very well with how you have your LinkedIn profile, which says like living my best life and helping others to do the same. I just love that line and how you've posted it out there, calling people, inviting. It's such welcoming, post out there, which like every time I go to your profile, that's what I see. And I think that's commendable because many times you learn things, you just are like in your own process that yeah, I've got this, but you're not ready to kind of put it out there to encourage people to advocate things about it. But you're more of a person like, let's grow together, let me help other women, let me talk other people who are trying to do something other than optometry. And yes, I know many people who do feel that they have burnt out, like working in optometry. They feel it's more routine. So I think finding your refocus, whether it's skincare, whether it's other business, whether it's your other passion, is very important. So I think living my best life should be your hashtag in whatever way you're doing. So I love that hashtag.
Thank you.
So any other major roadblocks in your journey? Because you were doing your business, you're working as an optometrist, you work in magazines. If you have to kind of just step back and think, if you had any roadblocks, Can you pinpoint on it?
Well, even though the skincare business has been great, that's also I've had roadblocks in that, because a lot of
Mhm.
people who joined my team, like I said, they thought it was just going to fall into place, and they thought it was going to work. And I was like, it's not. I'm here to motivate you as a leader, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's still
Right.
your business by the end of the day. So a lot of time people join me, but then they kind of fizzle out, or they don't even get started at all. So I'm like, what happened? you know so what, I was like, literally, what happened? Like, you were so excited. It took like, a year to 2 years for somebody to join, and then they come in, they're just like, nothing. So I'm like, okay. So, I mean, there's certain things when you come into this big group, and there's all this support, and then, you can't help but compare, even though it's not good, I know. But sometimes you look at it and you're saying, I've been doing this for however many years. Somebody came in shorter and they just like kind of exploded. Like, what are they doing different? But then again, I'm like, well, I think they're putting a lot more commitment in it, and that's okay. I'm okay with not putting in as much commitment because I got out of it what I want.
Right.
So it's still a roadblock because I felt like I didn't advance as much as I should. But in the end, I always try to look at the positive. I'm like, but you know what? God put this in your hand. He put this business in your hand, and you grew so much out of it. So you still got something out of it. So you can't be totally against it. You can't say, oh, it did nothing for me, because it did. I have the best skin in my life. I have lashes now, which before I didn't. And I'm not wearing any makeup, so I'm just like, there's no makeup on here. So I'm so blessed, because when I started this journey, I had tons of makeup on because I did not like how my skin looked. And it's bad when your husband say, wow, we're just going out for a lunch date. Why do you have so much makeup on? When you're trying to go for the makeup look, that's so embarrassing. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go wipe all this stuff off and leave the house. But now, with the whole mask wearing, it's great that I have no makeup on other than just eye makeup. And that's because, again, I'm an optometrist and I love my eyes to like, that's all they see. So I want to make sure
Right.
it's showing. But I'm just so glad my skin is much healthier, because I want to show my daughters that, if they take care of their skin now, their skin doesn't have to look bad later. And I'm so
Right.
happy that I'm able to give them products to help with their acne. Because I remember what it was with going through high school with like horrible acne, and then trying to cover it up with concealer. That didn't really help because it was so big on my forehead. But now they have all these products, and every time they have an issue, I just say, oh, I have that. So I just kind of share it. So funny story is, my youngest one, she's had all these little bumps on her forehead, and she goes, Mommy, how do I get rid of this? I was like, you have to use the product that your sister is using. She goes, but no, I'm too lazy. And then it got to the point where, there was more of it because she wasn't doing anything. And then she started using it because she's like, I don't want to be that girl that has all the acne and pimple on my forehead. I'm like, okay, whatever you want. So she started using it for a week. And then she's like, Mom, you know what? Your product really worked. I've only been using it for a week, but look, there's like no more pimples on my forehead. So I just thought that was hilarious when she told me that yesterday. I was like, oh, duh, I told you this stuff worked. You were just not using it. But I couldn't say there was like hard roadblocks, but I think it's always a mental roadblock, especially if you're so used to, if you're so goal oriented and you're used to hitting certain goals and you're not hitting those goals, don't let that be a stopping factor in your growth, because you're still growing, but just maybe slower. And as
Right.
long as you're okay with that, that's fine. I think sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. And I remember growing up that was how I was. And that's how I kind of burnt out a little bit too. But you have to just know that, we all run at our own pace, and just try not to sprint and over exhaust yourself before the race is done.
Right.
And you're only in a race with yourself, nobody else. So there's no point in you trying to beat yourself and then have no energy to finish that finish line when you're so close. So just go at your own pace. Yes, there's gonna be roadblocks. Just dust yourself off and get back in the race.
I love that. And especially for the fact in the current situation in the world with social media, there is so much of comparison. Like you said, oh my God, I haven't hit so many followers. I've not got so many likes. Nobody's looking at me. Like, just keep going. You might take maybe 4 years versus someone who's done it in 6 months, but
That's right.
you have your own journey. But especially with this whole social media world and life that we live with, there is definitely a lot of comparison, a lot of things that might encourage you to do something, but then again comes a disappointment if you have set your goals and if you're not reaching them. But I think what you said is like, just dust it off, get back to the race, and like, keep going. I think I love that.
Thank you.
Now, we did learn a lot about your journey, but we are now going to dive into my fun segment, which I call rapid fire, where I'm going to give you questions and you have to give me like the most spontaneous or the first answer that comes to your mind.
Okay.
Perfect. So, are you all set?
Alrighty.
Oh, wonderful. So, if you were not an optometrist or a skincare business owner, what other profession do you see yourself in?
Could I be an ice cream taster?
Ice cream taster. Okay, perfect. So, which is your favorite destination?
Ooh, I like Bali. Definitely want to go back. And my second, I haven't been there, but I think I would like to go to Fiji.
Fiji. Wonderful. If What's your favorite hobby?
If I could say sleeping, I would, but I would say shopping would be second. Close third would be traveling.
Wonderful. Your favorite cuisine, because you're a foodie, you need to tell me one or two.
Well, I can't say my favorite. Well, I have to say Vietnamese because I am Vietnamese. I love Vietnamese food. Oh, second. Oh, this is going to be so hard because it's like, is it dessert or is it food? So if it's dessert, I would have to say French. Their pastries is amazing. If it's food, I would have to say sushi, which is Japanese food, because it's so yummy if you're getting the right type of fresh fish.
I agree. I agree. All right. Your favorite book?
Oh man. Well, I just finished reading their I can't remember what it's called. Can't be my favorite if I can't remember it. But back in high school, then my favorite book back in high school was Little Women.
Okay.
I remember reading that book a couple of times.
Wonderful. If you could interview a guest, dead or alive, who would that be?
Oof, that'll be a hard one too, because I don't know. That one I
Anyone.
wouldn't know. I wouldn't know off the top of my head who I would interview. I would probably say the doctors of my skincare brand, Dr. Rodin and Dr. Kathy Fields, because they have very interesting stories, and I would like to pick their brains more about entrepreneurship.
Wonderful. If we were to write an autobiography about your journey, what would you like the title to be?
Living my best life.
I love that.
With others.
And one thing, if you would like to change or add in optometry, what would that be?
If I could change something about optometry, I would say just to make it more, just to make people more aware of what we do as a profession. So I think a lot of people don't understand the scope of optometry. And I think a lot of time, not to say anything bad about other groups, but there have been times when I work for other doctors and they don't treat me the same way because they don't feel like we have the capability to do certain scope of practice. And that really hurts because I thought we're at a present enough time that, there should be a mutual understanding of what we are capable of doing, and that they should understand if they hired us. But that's not the case in some of the times that I've had experience with this group of doctors. So I'll just leave it at that. But I would just hope to educate more people about what we do as a profession, so that way patients are more knowledgeable and even other doctors are more knowledgeable of who to send the referrals to, because sometimes they send the referrals to the wrong doctor, the patient doesn't get the care in time, and guess what, that vision is now affected, and that's what hurts. It hurts the patient, and it hurts me because I know that they just done the right referral, the patient would have gotten seen on time and the management would have been done correctly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's end of our rapid fire. I think you did amazing. And before we end our podcast, one final takeaway message for all my listeners.
Sure. If I could give any advice, I would say network. You just never know who you're going to bump into, where in your life that may come back later to help connect you to somebody to a new journey. So don't burn any bridges. Life is way too short for you to hold grudges. It really isn't worth it. You're the only one fretting over it. They probably don't even know you have a grudge against them. So why let that be on your shoulders? Literally just living your best life and just making sure that you choose your happiness. You have that decision to choose that happiness each day. You have to choose it first. Nobody chooses it for you. Once you choose your happiness, guess what? The whole day is beautiful, no matter what comes your way.
I think that's wonderful. And talking to you definitely gives me a lot of positive vibe. I was smiling the entire episode. So you can see that, you definitely give a lot of positive energy and positive vibes. Thank you so much for all the happiness, for amazing, ideas and like advice. Really appreciate your time, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.